Hey guys, Foxdrop here. I'm going to do another champion guide here, and this one is going to be on Shaco. Shaco is a really fun champion to play. In my opinion, he's probably the highest skill cap champion in the game. Last season I climbed on my Smurf to plat in like a few days just using this guy. He's really strong if you know how to use him well, and in Season 3 with the jungle changes I predict he's probably only going to get stronger as well. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so for skills, skill order, start with the W. Obviously you need that level 1 to jungle. Then at level 2 either take your E or your Q. Your E is better for actually clearing, but your Q is a lot safer in case you get invaded or something like that, you can run away. Then at level 3 you want to make sure you've got one in each skill, 1 point in each skill. Level 4, stick another point in your W, which is going to help you clear a bit faster here as well. And then max your E. Your E is going to give you a lot of burst in ganks. So that's really useful, and then max your W after that for longer CC, more damage, and then max your Q. The reason you max your Q last is because it doesn't really do anything when you level it up. It doesn't really give you many benefits. It scales really well with your items, so there's no need to put any unnecessary points into that. Now for some of the spells, obviously you're going to be taking Smite because you're jungling, and for the next spell you have really a choice of 3, Ghost, Ignite and Exhaust. If you're more experienced with Shaco, then you can run Ghost, but you won't need that once you get better with him. So really between Ignite and Exhaust, Ignite is just a lot of burst, which can be pretty good for your early ganks, but Exhaust is what I run and what I prefer, because if you've got the point in offensive mastery, then you're going to be reducing the magic resistant armor when you exhaust them, and it's also going to really help you stick down the carry, and in teamfights you're going to be able to one-on-one them, which is really what your role is going to be. So for masteries, I go 21-9. 21 points into offense just to get the most damage possible out of your masteries, because Shaco always wants to do the most amount of damage possible. He's an assassin. 9 points into defense, getting Veteran Scars because he's very squishy, and this is going to help you be a bit beefy early. You can also go 21-9, but getting points into bladed armor, which is going to help you clear faster. You can go 21-0-9, which is going to help with your mana issues, because Shaco can have very bad mana issues if you're not very experienced with him. So if you're just beginning, that's something to consider. Finally, you can go 19-11, and you're going to do as much damage with this, obviously, but you are going to be a bit tankier. Now for runes on Shaco, this is very interesting because there are a lot of different viable runes for each slot, and I'm just going to tell you what is viable and then show you some example rune pages. So for red, you can either go with attack speed, attack damage, or armor pen. For yellow, armor or attack speed. Blues, magic resist per level or attack speed, and your quints can be AD, armor pen or move speed. Now just to show you how different your rune pages can be when you play Shaco, on my Smurf this is what I run. This is just a flat AD page because my Smurf is very poor, but it works. However, my main, this is something more ideal, which is 6 AD reds, 3 attack speed reds, armor yellows, attack speed blues and move speed quints. But as long as whatever runes you choose, there's stuff that I've mentioned before, then you should be okay on Shaco. Just play with it and see what you like. Right, so I'm going to move on to the item builds here, and there's one thing I really don't like when I'm reading a guide, it's the phrase, it depends. Why? Because that phrase doesn't really help anyone out. So having said that, what is the best item build on Shaco? Well, it totally depends. I always start boots 3, and I rush my wriggles, and then I get my second tier of boots. Whether that's Zerk Agrees or boots mobility, again, it depends. But then I always get Hex Drinker or GA. I think if you build these two items, you're not going to go wrong. Hex Drinker, you always get use out of this shield because people don't realise, but there is a lot of magic damage on the enemy team. Even if they're AD champs like Ezreal and Corki, they still do a lot of magic damage. GA as well really helps with the assassin playstyle, and psychologically people don't like to focus the person with the GA because I think it's a waste of time, so that really helps to your advantage as well. Now these other items are good items you can build them, good defensive items, good offensive items. When you're going to build them really depends on how the game is evolving and what your team needs. So I'm sorry, that doesn't help you out too much, but you're just going to play a lot of Shaco games to really understand when to build these specific items. One thing I will mention though is the attack speed items. That is because firstly, if you are split pushing on Shaco, which is something I'll mention later on in the video, then attack speed really helps you out there. And also, your clone benefits from any on-hit effects that your items may have which come off of your attack speed. So, like Wit's End, your clone will be doing that extra damage, or like Mad Reds or Ionic Sparkle, although I think those two items are going to be removed in Season 3. Yeah, so that they really benefit your clone as well. Now for roots on Shaco, you can really do one of 3 routes. I'm doing these from purple side perspective, but it's just mirrored for blue side. You can either start at red buff and level 2 gank. Shaco's quite good at doing that. You can start at blue buff, get that smiteless, and then move on to red, take that, which will be level 3, and then you can gank. Or you can do my personal favourite route, which is where you start off at red, do that smiteless, take blue buff, and then go invade or gank. So regarding your level 1 box positions when you're jungling, what you're going to want to do is you'll want to put one box down at Wraith or Wolf Camp at about 43-44 seconds. Now the reason we want to do that is because your boxes last for 1 minute and Wraith Wolves spawn at 140. So after you've done that, run over to the buff, put 3 boxes down there, and then you're going to have to go back and kill the Wraiths or Wolves. Preferably do this with a friend, because if you don't get to your buff at 155, there may be trouble. So when they're dead, move over to the buff, finish that off, put another box down there. You won't even need to use Smite. Some people think if you do get invaded though on Shaco that it's the end of the world, which really isn't the case. A sign of a good jungler is just how you recover from bad things happening to you early. If you do get invaded, don't worry, just run over to the next buff, put a box down on it, and you can take it with Smite, no problem. So regarding how you actually jungle in general with Shaco, with your boxes, early on especially, what you're going to do is you want to put a box down and then wait. Don't attack the creeps until they're attacking the box. If you start attacking while the fear is still going, for example, then the chances are that the camp will actually aggro onto you. And if that happens, you're going to lose a lot more health than you would otherwise, and that's really going to hurt your play in the jungle. So what's really left to talk about with Shaco is his playstyle. When you're picking Shaco, you want to be very, very aggressive early. You want to be applying a lot of pressure onto the enemy team as much as possible early. So when it comes to ganks, you can be very creative as to where you want to gank from, which means you're not as limited as other junglers, which means you can be more aggressive and gank more often. Also, with your invades, with your boxes, you can steal away enemy buffs really, really easily. This is something you should be doing more than other junglers, which is targeting enemy buffs to take them away. Because of your boxes, like I said, and also your deceive, you can escape really, really easily. So it's very, very low risk play to take away buffs. Also, just as a general tip when you're invading, put your boxes in bushes and treat them as wards, because that was really going to help you invade safer. Now the biggest irks that people have with Shaco is that they think he is useless late game and useless in teamfight. Quite frankly, it's not true. If you're a bad Shaco player, then yeah, sure. But you guys are going to be the best Shaco players in the world watching this video, so don't you worry about that. So the two options that he does have for late game are his split pushing powers and his team fighting powers. And regarding split pushing, Shaco's probably the best champion in the game for it, because he's very, very slippery with his Q, which allows him to escape any situation, with his W, which allows him to scout out just like a ward would, and especially if you build boats of mobility, you're not going to catch him. If you built attack speed as well, then his split pushing powers are insane. He can split push with extreme efficiency, and the enemy team are going to need to send someone over to stop you, or you're going to start taking towers very quickly, especially with your clone, who acts as a bit of a sledgehammer when it comes to tower destroying. So the benefits of you split pushing is, if they do send someone over for you, then it's going to be a 4-on-4, and your team's probably going to come off better in that instance. If they do send someone over for you as well, then you can run over to the team and fight a 5-on-4 as well, if you're particularly quick. But even if they don't send someone for you and it's 5-on-4 for the enemy team, then even if your team is dying, it's probably not even that big a deal, unless they start taking an inhib or something like that, because if you're taking towers, then it's most definitely worth it. So relating to his Shaco's team fighting abilities, you really have to be quite careful when you're playing Shaco. It's not easy to team fight with him, but he's still very good at it. Basically, what you want to be doing is you want to be a true assassin. You want to be picking people off, the weak people, so that's like the carries, or even just like low health people that are trying to run away. So if you're like being a vulture or something like that, just watch your positioning, because if you get focused as Shaco, or if you take a lot of accidental damage, get coring AoE, then that's the end of the team fight right there, because you will die. Unless you've built very, very tanky, then you are very, very squishy when you're playing Shaco. So ideally you want to be jumping onto the carries when they're a bit isolated and taking them out of the fight. Now, if you are strong, then the enemy carriers are going to be very scared of you, because they know that you could be around and they don't know where you are, because when you're playing Shaco with your deceive, you can really come from anywhere. So that's going to play in their mind, and they're not going to be as aggressive. They're not going to take the opportunities which they could have been taking, because in the back of their mind they're thinking, where is Shaco? Why hasn't he killed me yet? And if you are playing Shaco correctly, then you will be killing him very soon. That's pretty much it for the whole Shaco guide. I just want to finish by telling you a few details about your clone, how to use that the best. The difference between a good Shaco player and a great Shaco player is how they use their clone. So first off, when you want to solo drag, As soon as you hit 6 and you've got your wriggles, all you're going to want to do is you're going to want to run up to drag, exchange pleasantries, and then get down to business. You want to activate your clone and position. You want to aggro yourself, the dragon first. Position your clone behind drag so it makes most use of your passive, and then when you reach 50% health, deceive, which will reset dragon's aggro onto your clone, and then start attacking dragon from behind again. Kill it, finish it off with smite or whatever. And so outside of that, really, there are just two broad categories for your clones: avoiding damage and enhancing your own damage. Now, for avoiding damage, you can use your clone at the perfect time, so that the animation actually cancels all damage done to you. So like Carther Soul, you can dodge. This Oriana Rock here, you can dodge. Jukes as well. You can use your clone to juke damage out, which otherwise you'd be taking. You can block skill shots with it. And in team fights, if people are unsure as to who the real Shaco is, then that's just going to help create a bit of confusion. They're not going to know who to focus. But be careful, because if you are buff and use your ult, your clone won't get those buffs. That'll be really obvious which the real one is. And as far as enhancing damage goes, this is pretty straightforward. Like if you're taking a tower or an inhib or something, use your clone. That'll help you do more damage. In team fights as well, you'll just be doing more damage there. And also your clone procs on hit effects, like I mentioned earlier. So if you've got like a frozen mallet and you're going to perma-slow someone, if you've got a wit's end and you're going to be doing even more damage, black cleaver, you're going to be stacking that armor shred even faster. So that's why on hit effects can be really good on Shaco as well. So thank you for watching this guide. If you do have any questions or anything, leave them in the comments. I always get back to them, like item builds or something specific like that. If you found it helpful, please do subscribe. That really helps me out. Share with your friends, like, all that stuff. Thank you again, and I will see you in my next video.